Hey guys, this is Chelsea with Hennapreneur, and today I am with Mandy Roberge of Wicked Good Henna. Hey,
Hello, good morning.
Mandy, tell us a little bit about yourself, yeah?
Okay, so I'm based in central Massachusetts, which is kind of where the Wicked Good came from. I don't know how far spread this video will go, but we say Wicked Good a lot around here. So when I was looking for a business name, I wanted something that alluded to where I lived a little bit. And Lobster Henna didn't have the same ring to it.
I don't think so, yeah.
So I started actually as a kids yoga teacher, and I was working at libraries back in when my kids were small, and they would come with me, and it was great. And then I guess you want to launch right into where henna comes in.
Yeah, tell me. Yeah, tell me
for that.
Heck yes, I'm ready for that. Tell me, how did you get started?
So my best friend was visiting. We were both pregnant. Me with my third child, hers with her second, and she had gestational diabetes. And her doctor said you have to give yourself a shot in the belly every day, but don't hit the same spot twice if you can at all avoid it. So she had bought me a henna kit, and I'd never really even heard of henna or seen it. But she knew I liked to doodle, which I do, and she asked me to make. And now that I'm looking back on it, it must have been the chemical henna. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't really remember. What I do remember is making flowers on her belly. I don't remember if it was 7 pointed flowers for 5 weeks or 7 5-pointed flowers, but she was going to give herself a shot every day at the tip of a flower so that she would work her way around her belly, in a pretty way. And when I did it, I was like, this is super fun, and it was like the artist that I always knew myself to be was becoming unleashed in that moment. So I started doing henna. God, I can't even remember where I was getting it. That's actually kind of scary now. But eventually I learned how to make it. But everybody, the word got out, and friends would come over. I always had a lot of friends around with their kids, and I just started kind of doing it on everybody. And so everywhere I went, I had henna. And then I got interested in learning how to make it. But for years it was just, oh, there goes Mandy again with her little, use the little plastic, the Check Card bottles.
Oh, wow.
There goes Mandy again with, I was. Then as time went on and I spent more and more time doing henna, my hands started to, seize up, which is another issue we'll get to, the injuries that come with henna. I have tendonitis in my elbow. I'm a hot mess. But I ended up switching to cones. I got into learning how to make it. I hooked on to a woman around here who sells all natural stuff, and just really kind of just got into it. And for years it was a hobby, and it was, Mandy, can you come to this fundraiser, and can you come to this place, and can you come to my kid's birthday party? And then the infrastructure needed to sustain the availability for all these things just closed in on me. And I always had 7 or 8 jobs with my kids, and I'm working around the family, and one by one I just had to kind of release them and make the space in my life for more henna.
Oh, I love it. So is that when you had the incident with, I shouldn't say incident, but the situation with your friend and gestational diabetes, was that your first memory of henna also? That was the first time you
never heard of it.
Wow.
I can't, which I really can't believe. I grew up in a town with a fairly decent sized Indian population, and I guess I just never really noticed anything happening. And maybe that's the way it was. Maybe henna didn't really become popularized in America until we're talking about 2006 here. And I have felt, I don't know, how when you're pregnant and you look around and everybody's pregnant, and it's not really that there's more pregnant people, it's just that you're noticing them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's when I started noticing henna, or if that's really when around this region it became more popular. I don't know.
That's so interesting.
But it's growing and growing and growing, like a wildflower.
I love it, like a 7-pointed wildflower at that. I'm here for it.
I wish I had a picture of that first belly. I'm sure it would give me a chuckle now.
Oh my gosh! Can I tell you? I found a picture of my first belly recently, and I gagged a little.
Yeah. I remember somebody tagging me recently in something on Instagram, like, "Oh, here's the henna Mandy gave us 5 years ago," and I was like, "Delete that picture." Never let it be.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So talk to me. So you start there. You start with your friend, and then next thing you know, you're doing parties,
So
and then
but here's the turning point. So, like
yeah.
I said, I was a certified kids yoga teacher. My thing was doing yoga at libraries. I would go around all year long to like bring my kids with me. If I always had a baby on the back or whatever, do my yoga classes, and inevitably librarians would be like, "Oh, you're so I'm good with kids. Like that's my gift in this lifetime."
Aww.
And they say, "Oh, the kids love you, the teenagers love you, all the parents love you. What else can you do here?" Because we'll talk about it more, but libraries have budgets for programs, and they want to use this money to bring people into the library. Mm-hmm. So when they have a performer, that's what technically I would be called. When they have a performer that people respond to and that people like and that people show up for, they want you back. So, one librarian was like, "What else do you do? I have this, time slot this summer and I want to bring a bunch of people in." And I was like, "Well, I've been doing a little bit of henna." And so I went in for that, and they had this like huge crowd. And I mean, again, if I saw those pictures, I'd probably die, because we're talking like 2009. And here's the thing about librarians. They're a chatty bunch. They have a network with each other. I've never had to do any marketing. And yet that first summer, I did a couple programs for her, and I think I was charging like $50 an hour, because that was what I was charging for yoga. And then the next summer I had 5 gigs. And then the next summer I had 17 gigs. You know what I mean? It just kind of built, and I never did anything. It was just like, "Hey, we heard about you from Susan over at the library," and, "Hey, we heard about you from Amy," and, so these librarians literally get in touch with me.
I love that.
Which I love too, because I'm much of a self-promoter, so it's nice to have somebody else doing that dirty work for me.
I know that's right.
Yeah.
I know that's right. Did you feel like so when as you start getting these phone, or even just like with the opportunity of being able to expand into the library program, did you feel immediately confident about it, or were you like, because I heard like I did a little bit of henna. How was that experience for you when you got that phone call or you had that conversation?
I think I was confident. I was confident in it. I love being in libraries, and that's like I love to read. I love books. I love words. I was a writer, in my that's the direction I thought I was going in. Of course, one of my 7 million jobs, I was a freelance writer for newspapers in the area. I had a column in a parenting magazine. Like I was doing the writing thing too.
Yeah.
And so I thought that's where I was headed. But because of that love for writing, reading, and words, I love being in libraries. So it's really like a comfortable place for me. Mm-hmm. And then of course kids, with the henna, kids aren't picky. Like they're not criticizing you. They're not judging your art. They're just like so happy to have something pretty on their hands. So I never really thought much about it not being good enough. It always felt good enough.
Oh, good. Okay. I like to ask that, like when you get that first opportunity, there's like a divide. There are people who immediately are like, "Heck yes, I got this. It's in the bag." Yeah. And then there are other people who are like feeling self-doubt or feeling whatever. So
I never struggled much with confidence.
I don't believe that. Oh my gosh.
I'm not a person with a lot of self-doubt. I'm probably to a fault.
Same.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, in some ways.
It was all good.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So how, like for you, in terms of like your personal growth and so forth, in what ways do you feel like your experience with henna has impacted you, or has changed you, or has caused you to grow?
It's helped me understand myself better, because the aspects of being in this business that I love the most have helped me to identify, I don't like being told what to do. I like to be my own boss. I like to be creating always something. It's helped me to understand that the more you express your creativity, or at least for me, it doesn't drain you, it actually energizes you. Like I never run out of creative ideas when I'm creating. So it's not this reservoir that empties. It's like this constantly filling reservoir, which is probably what a reservoir is if I really think about it. So it's helped me understand myself better, what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, which is important, to know your own limitations too. So it's helped me to take a closer look at that. Having an art form that you can express yourself while also connecting with somebody else and maybe improve, like helping them to heal something. You know, I could tell you stories till I'm blue in the face, but you know, there's times when it's just a really powerful and meaningful art form. So that's been just a really cool discovery, when at first it was just a tattoo.
Yeah. Wow, I agree with that. I agree with that a lot. I think for us, it's equal parts giving and equal parts receiving, and sometimes we fail to remember that. Like I think as creatives, we're always thinking in terms of, I'm creating for this person, I'm doing for this person, and it does feel like a give. But there's
an exchange,
and that
there can be
beautiful.
Sometimes it's just a grind. Sometimes it's just a grind. You know, I do teen workshops a lot, and there's not a lot of meaningful interactions. You know, to some degree, maybe I'm just sitting there in my own head, just doing my thing, you know, going through a playlist or something in my head. So it's not always like that. I just understanding that the capacity is there for it. And I actually think when things get to, oh, this was terrible and that was terrible and life is busy, just reconnecting to that part of the art is the most centering, helpful thing.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So for you, like you said, you through henna, you found like your strengths and your limitations. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, I can talk all day also about my limitations. So I loathe social media. It's so out of my comfort zone. I've never liked Facebook. I sort of like Instagram. But you know, when you're in an industry like this, putting yourself out there is part of the game. Yeah. So I've had to really work at that. So that's been definitely a challenge for me, and I do the best I can. You and I have talked about business through Hennapreneur. I've met with people at the Chamber of Commerce. I've had business, strategy meetings, and everybody says, you got to get in the game. You got to get in the game. You got to get in the game. I'm going to prove everybody wrong.
Okay.
I'm going to stay out of the game. I'm going to keep my game face to face. I feel pretty strongly about it. Mm-hmm. So in 5 years, I'd like to be sitting here mentoring somebody and saying, if you hate social media, it's okay. Like, you don't have to do the content thing. We'll see. So check back in with me in 2024.
I love it.
That's just sort of my hard life. I don't like being told what to do. I never have. I was a very headstrong child. I was a rotten teenager. I am a difficult wife, my husband says. He swears I have oppositional defiant disorder. I've never liked working for anybody else. I had one job, which we might get into, but I worked at a library in the children's room, and I had a really cool boss, and she was very hands-off and very like, you do you, which is how I got into kind of library programming. And that worked for me, and we're still friends to this day. Mm-hmm. I actually filled in at the library last night because I had somebody out sick. So working for myself has been a must. Mm-hmm. Been a must. So knowing that, but I consider that a little bit of a limitation. Not being able to sort of function in the real world in the way that most people do.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I could see it from that perspective, but I also feel like that, and I'm just going to be blunt, I feel like that's what makes a badass business person. Like, you have to have that acknowledgement that this is not something that I will do, so I'm going to have to make it work over here.
I had no choice. I've always done things my own way. It was non-negotiable. I was never going to sit in an office. I was never going to sit in a cubicle. I was never going to, if I've had a couple jobs in my life where I was told what to do and I walk out, I can't handle it. which
I'm out of here.
I made it work. I work. But in the moment, it's like, Mandy, really?
Oh my gosh. I hear you on the limitation, but I don't know. Part of me is like, that is a strength if I've ever heard one. Especially when you're coming from our perspective and you're building a business. You're an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I had to make this work, and I wanted to make this work. And in those early days, I would come home from a gig here, gig there, and be like, that is it. That's the thing. That's what I want. That's what I wanted. Yeah. And I think I'm actually, like, you might not guess this, but I'm an introvert. So defined by an introvert is somebody who, when they're around lots of people, actually is drained by it rather than energized by it. So I love it. I'm a social introvert, but I love the concreteness of a 2-hour gig. Like, I'm going to be around people for 2 hours, and then I'm going to get in my car and be alone. Or I'm going to work at a festival where there's going to be 40,000 people, but they can't come into my space unless they're sort of invited. So these little things that just come by the nature of being a henna artist really work for me on an energy level too,
That's relatable. That's really relatable. That's so relatable. I'm
the only one, but
no, I'm not. I'm the same. I like the definite. We'll have some exchange here, and then it's 2 hours, and I will see you again next year. Like,
yes. I can't wait for that, but
we're done here.
Yeah. Thanks. Right now, I'm going to get in my car and listen to a crime podcast, and that's going to be exciting too.
Yes. What are you listening to right now?
I'm out of ideas right now. I've listened to some great podcasts. So right now I'm on a mock binge because I've got like 10 episodes stored up that I have to listen to. But the last probably good thing I listened to was called Bear Brook, I think. It's like a murder series that happened in New Hampshire. So that was a good podcast.
Have you heard Serial?
Oh yeah. I'm like a junkie with that stuff. Yeah.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I'm just getting into it now because obviously it's here in Baltimore. I'm just getting into it now, and I'm like, hanging off of every word.
Terrible Things for Asking is another great podcast. She comes out with a new episode like every couple weeks or so. It's really good.
Love podcasts. So tell me, like, where are you in your business today? We've got the library programs, and that's the bulk of what you do, no?
So library programs is the bulk of what I do, or are the bulk of what I do, and one of the things that happened was we had talked a little bit about how librarians were like, oh, what else do you do? What else do you do? Well, and when I was working at the library, I was like, oh, I love crafts. I love to do this. So I was, working at the library, and I'd be working on a Wednesday night, and I'd hold like a wine glass painting workshop or a little jewelry workshop or something. And people, that word got around on that too. So some of the librarians that I was doing henna programs at their library, they'd be like, hey, I heard you did a jewelry program at Pepperell. Why don't you come and do that here? And I built that end of my business up as well. And it's nice because so I have 18 different craft programs that I offer in addition to henna at libraries.
Holy smokes. Wow.
They make up a small percentage of my overall, so like henna is like 75 to 80% of my workshops, but all those different craft workshops mixed in to make that extra 20%, it fills in the spaces between henna when a library is like, okay, we've had you 5 times for henna, like the Friends group is not going to pay for another henna program. Or, like a vacation week where, maybe like February vacation, I think it's a great time for henna. I think February is a great time for henna because it's going to last a little longer. But, they have a lot of kids coming in for so they might want a craft program that week instead where they can accommodate more people or whatever it is. So it fills in the stones of my rock wall, if you will. Like it fills in the spaces really nicely. So that has really been building. I have some libraries that I do a crafternoon, like once a month. I'll go in and do a crafternoon. And when you add those up, like, oh, that library told that library, whatever. So like now I've got probably 7 libraries that I go to once a month. Well, that's $1,500 a month or more. Like that's no small amount of business to be filling in the gaps around henna. Yeah. So it adds up. It's a nice compliment. I can't remember what you asked me. I told you when I get rambly, you have to read me.
No, that's perfect. Like, because I think it's so interesting. It's not every day that you hear people like, I'm the bridal artist or I'm the prenatal artist. but to have someone who works almost exclusively with the library programs, like that's really unique.
Yeah.
So do you do anything outside of the library programs, or is that really like that's it?
Oh, every once in a while I get a little party here and there. It's not, I do it because I like it. I'm doing a party tomorrow night. I like to do parties. It's not a huge, it's just like fun money for me.
Mm-hmm.
I do festivals in the summer, but that's been pretty like steady. I'm not all that interested in growing my festival income because I got three teenage girls. They're like, I got one leaving for college. We're not going to all be here forever. So to give up every weekend, I did that grind a couple of years ago, and it's a grind, sitting there all day. So for a couple of years, I really kind of sacrificed my family for the summer and did the festival thing. And now I'm at a point where I know which ones are good. I know where the money is. And I'm just doing those.
I love that.
I'm kind of a snot about the festivals because I like to be busy. I don't like to be sitting there doing nothing. I know nobody does, but I really don't like it. Like it makes me miserable. I want to be where the people are. Like sound like Ariel.
Yeah, I want to be with people, but also outside of my booth. Like, but also that.
I want to be. I work fast, so I like the bustle. I like the hustle. My best friend comes, she's my booth babe, we have a blast. Like, I like the high activity festivals where there's like 10,000 or more people.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, you asked if that's what I do. It's a good chunk of change, but I really focus on the libraries because I see a lot of room for growth there too.
Mm-hmm.
They continue to talk. I'm actually trying something new this year because I took your course about the ideal client. And I've decided, because the school year, during the day is sort of an empty period. So I took my daughter to her college orientation thing, and they were taking us through the dining hall area, and they were like, okay, well, here's where the dining hall is, and every day at lunchtime we have people tabling, and I go, tabling? What do you mean you have people tabling? She said, yeah, we have, people come in, we have a jewelry lady, and we have this person and that person. They can come in and just sit at a table outside the dining hall, and they can sell their stuff. And I was like, and my daughter looks at me like, not here.
Like, Mom, no, stop.
But I thought, I live outside of Boston. I live in New England. There's colleges everywhere you look. So like, why not try to get some time tabling during lunch times of the school week?
I like that.
So I'm taking a risk this year. I just decided to throw a little bit of money at a risk, which I'm willing to do. I joined the National Association for Campus Activities. I'm going to get a table at their conference in November, and I'm just going to try something new and see if I can kind of make that work a little bit. And it's a good time to take a risk because I have really nothing to lose. Mm-hmm. Like I'm making a good living, everything is taken care of, but I have more, like there's room for growth during the day because a lot of my stuff is at night or on the weekends. So there's room. So I'm going to try to make a go of it.
There are 3 things that you just said that I'm like, we got to talk about.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah. I'm not forgetting this. So the first thing is, I love that you have the boundary around your time with your family. And I would love to hear your perspective on what it is to maintain that time with family and also run a business, and where were your hard lines and what was your thought process? And at what point were you like, no, the sacrifice here, it cannot, it cannot exceed whatever this level is?
Well, I'm lucky because my husband is capable and awesome. Mm-hmm. So I don't have to worry when I'm away that things aren't being taken care of around here. So that's good. I did spend one of my summers where I had 7,000 jobs that Henna was picking up. I sacrificed my kids, and at the end of the summer I said that will never happen again. I was never home. I was working all day long. I was gigging all night long. I would get home every night at 10 o'clock at night, and it felt like crap. And I still regret it. And my kids will still talk about, remember the bad summer? Like, they remember it.
Remember that summer you abandoned us?
So there's a hard time. So one thing, I hope this answers your question, but one thing I do now is that when I'm starting to fill up my summer, which happens increasingly earlier in the year now, now my librarians are starting to get in touch with me in like November, December for the following summer. And I'm usually by mid-February, I'm usually booked up for the summer, which is incredible and awesome and very disappointing to some of my old favorite librarians when they think that it's just like it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
One of the things I do is I sit down with my summer calendar and I drive my friends crazy because I'm like, when do you guys want to go away for the weekend? And they're like, it's November. What do you like? I'm like, I need to know now. One of the things I do is I just block time off. So I have a working vacation that I've blocked off on the South Shore of Boston because I hate driving back and forth. So I booked a house and then I get in touch with all my librarians in that area and say I'm going to be in town for this week, book me. So it ends up that I'll have the day with my family and then I'll gig in the afternoon and evening. So I do that. So that's my working vacation. Then I block a 4-day weekend off with my girlfriends because that's critical. And then I block a week off with my family. So I have those ready to go. And then any other days, college orientation, driver's test, like any days that I know they're going to need me, I block the whole day off. So that's how I do it now. And then I wish it was like the old days where my kids kind of came with me everywhere, but they got tired of that, in the last few years. They were like, that your gigs are boring and Henna is stupid. It's like, and every time I go to, like, I do teenagers, they're like, you have 3 daughters, they must have you Henna them all the time. I'm like, they do not.
Oh my gosh.
I hope someday they'll let me Henna them, but not now.
Maybe they'll come back around. I have this understand, like, one of my clients comes every 2 weeks and her teenage daughter would come with her because she had to.
Yeah.
And she refuses to get Henna. She got it 2 times. And after that, and I've seen this client for 3 years. Every 2 weeks, 3 years. And the daughter will not get it. And I know that she wants it. You see the look in her.
Yes.
But it's like, it's the rebellion. Mom's doing it, not doing it.
Yep, that's all it is.
They'll come back around.
I say that 1,000 times a day. They'll come back around someday.
I love it. But I have to tell you, like, that I wanted to ask you specifically about that because I feel like a lot of times, especially those of us who are moms, but if you have a family at all, if you have other even if it's not a family, if you have a tight, like, community and close friends and whatnot, and then you're going into working, that kind of, especially over the summer months, I think the expectation in our industry is you must kill yourself from May through late August. Yep. And if you don't, you will be broke for the rest of the year. And it's like,
I'm learning that that's not necessarily true.
It doesn't have to be that way. You can have this life outside of henna, and it can still be very vibrant. It can still be very peaceful.
Because you know what, you can say, like, with me, with my clients being librarians, I can say to them, I'm not available that week, so you're going to have to. So I do kill myself the weeks that I'm not on vacation, but I make sure to give myself breaks. I wish I had more wisdom for you. The truth is that it's really hard.
Yeah.
The truth is that it's really hard, and it's like being an accountant at tax season. You do have to somewhat strike while the iron's hot, but carving out, I guess, the time for yourself therein. I try, some of the big music festivals that I do. My husband was a drummer in a band. Like, we like music, so I try to bring them with me. At least having them around makes me happy. Mm-hmm. And they're starting to get that too. So if I have a festival, they'll often agree to come, especially if it's like a 4-hour, like, street party kind of thing. They'll come and they come take my money and I try to make the best of it. I like having my kids and my husband near me, my dogs. I like having them there. It makes me feel better. Mm-hmm. So when possible, I do that too. But it's hard. That's been the biggest challenge in everything in my career, is not sacrificing my kids. Sometimes, some years I've been better at it than others.
Yeah.
So getting to a better place, just as they're all getting ready to leave, I'm getting good at it.
Look, it is so hard. I feel like it's one of those things that, like, you really don't know. Like, it's like parenting. You don't know if you're doing a good job until it's done. And at that point, it's like, it's hindsight. It's over.
I've heard that the real fun in parenting is when they're, like, in their 20s and they start telling stories, like, or about. I can't wait for that. I'm gonna just hide in the corner.
Oh no. Oh my gosh. Well, I do. I love that. And I'll tell you, like, for me as well, that's been my thing this year. This is the first year that I've done this. But this year I said, every month I'm taking the family away. And so
Oh,
every month there's a weekend that I do not work, and I do
yeah,
not, like, we're out, we're done.
yeah,
And but even making that little shift, it's so empowering, I think, because as a business owner, you feel ever present and ever responsible, and ultimately you are,
yes,
for all of the things going right and continuing to move along and whatnot, even in your absence. And so it can be really daunting to say,
yeah.
no, I'm going to take that time off. So to hear you be like, yeah, I book a 4-day weekend with my girlfriends, that is amazing.
Gotta do that. I can't live without that time. And like on a micro level too, one of the places I've gotten to, especially as phones have become more prevalent in our lives, when I pick my kid up at school and it's a 11-minute drive home, I make her put her phone away. I'm like, if I'm picking you up and we have 11 minutes together, we're gonna chat, we're gonna hang out. My other daughter, when I bring her to dance, they slip into it, and I'm like, I'll stop the car and be like, put it away. That's our time together. I hate to say it, but I'm just driving the car, and we're gonna hang out a little bit. We're gonna have a little one-on-one time, and so you grab those moments when you can. I guess try to be, well, okay, it's 11 minutes, but I'm gonna be here, like, fully present for 11 minutes with you. That might be more than you get if you're at home all day with your mom and she's completely distracted. So I don't know. It's a micro tip, but I'm still figuring it all out too. So
No, I love that so much. You have no idea. Like, that is gold. So yeah, the other thing I wanted to ask you also is, you talked specifically about taking a risk. And I'm like, and this is totally shifting gears. Totally shifting gears. But you mentioned taking a risk and saying like, oh, they're doing tabling, and like, I'm gonna do it, and reaching out and doing the things. At what point did you become, well, you mentioned you've always felt pretty confident in doing the things.
I'm a rebel.
You're a rebel. Is there
I'm a renegade, Dottie?
a renegade? Oh my God. Oh Lord. No, is there like, has there been a point where you're like, I know that, no, I'm going to ask it this way. Has there been a place or a time when you're like, I see this risk, I'm going to assess this, or do you have a formula? Let me ask you that. Do you have a formula for assessing risk in your business that's run true to you and that has paid off well for you that you could share?
I'm pretty impulsive. I go a lot with my gut.
Mm-hmm.
I go with my gut feeling. I'll also say that, like, as my kids have gotten older, my comfort level with that age person has evolved. So I'm not sure I really liked teenagers before I had them. So back in the day, I was more interested in working with small children. I'll always love small children. Early childhood is my jam. I love little kids. But having teenagers, I'm more comfortable with teenagers. So my whole business has kind of evolved into that teen space. And now having a kid going off to college, it's like, oh, college kids. Like, I know how to talk to 18-year-old kids. So like me, so I'm not answering your question. I know I'm not, but I did want to mention that, like, I see opportunity through these new places that I find myself. Mm-hmm. There's things that I don't like to do. So we talked a little bit about, like, bridal. Like, I did one bride once and I was like, this is not for me, not in any way, shape, or form. Not for me. Private appointments. I don't love having people in my house. It's okay. I know a lot of people in my own community, they'll come for, so it's just in terms of like taking risks, like I know where I don't want to go. Mm-hmm. Money is probably the thing that is tied most to the risk. It's easy to risk something when there's really nothing, there's no skin in the game. So when I talk about taking risk, it's usually tied into some sort of financial investment that I'm making. So like we talked about the campus activities, I had to pay $300 to be a part of this organization. I'm going to have to pay another $300 to have a table at this conference. That's a $600 risk. So what's $600? A few gigs. If we were talking about a $2,000 risk, I wouldn't take it. Like, I'm not there. So I guess my comfort in a risk is sort of tied to how much I can afford to lose.
I like that. So for you, it's
like gambling is, right? I mean,
yeah,
gambling is like, you only gamble what you can afford to say goodbye to.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my big. I know I didn't really answer your question.
No, you did. You did. It's no whatever. No, you did. It's interesting to see because some people assess risk, and I love asking this because there's two perspectives. There are people who assess risk and they think about it in terms of what it is that they can lose, and then there are people who assess risk and it comes directly from what they can gain or what they would lose if they didn't take that risk.
Oh.
Which, and this is totally like, it has nothing to do with Henna, but my dad is in the military. My dad's a Marine, and he, in his work and whatnot, like all the warfare thing and whatnot. So we had some conversation about how they assess risk in Australia when it comes to modern warfare. Oh. And it was very interesting to me to hear how here in the US we assess risk by in terms of collateral. What's the damage that can be had?
Okay.
And there it's what's the damage that can be had if we do nothing.
Do it.
And it's totally that shift is like
that's a completely different way of thinking about risk, but I'm not sure I could you'd almost have to have that to grow up with that mindset. That seems like
it's totally different, but you know what?
Really work to think of it like that.
Yeah. See, and I never heard of someone else thinking about it that way because honestly, in my life and in my business, that's the way that I think of things. What do I risk if I do nothing? And it's. So
you do think that way.
I think that way, but I always felt like I was the anomaly. Like I didn't know that this was a school of thought that could be had. It's very interesting. No, so total side note, but but it's so interesting. So I'd love to ask that question. Yeah. But then the third thing that I wanted to touch on is the fact that you did invest in joining this association. I think there's so much power in saying, you know what, I want to play, and so if I'm going to play, here you go. I'll put my hat in and I'll do the things and I'll sign up. So tell me, is that normal for you? Like when you see a thing, do you immediately look to see, okay, what's the most professional route that I can go to get into this circle? Or
after taking your courses, I mean, we have to talk about Hennapreneur because your tutorials about the ideal client really resonated with me, and I loved it. I think mine was, what was yours? Yours was Stacy.
Yeah.
So mine was Tracy. And just thinking about who I'm trying to reach and how to get there really helped me figure out where is this person and what conferences is she going to and where are her, what's her budget like, and so helping me. So then that helped me to Google campus activities. She's on the board, she's probably going to bring some students from her. The problem with campus activities is that probably the leadership of the group changes every few years. So you can't really get connected to the students. You have to get connected to their advisor. So I had to think about all these things after thinking about your ideal client workshop. So that really helped. And then the gut thing, at the same time as all that's happening, then I'm touring colleges and I'm looking at these student unions and I'm looking at these dining hall spaces and seeing all the, and they have, I mean, when I took my daughter to her college, they have this board that has all their activities for the month of April. It's like, they're doing all the same stuff libraries are doing. They had I do a sewing workshop. They had a sewing workshop. Why have I never thought to offer this, what I'm doing, to colleges?
Yeah.
So that really got me thinking. So it just seemed like a good time and a good risk to take. A good risk to take and a good time to take it.
I love that.
Yeah. And I might not have thought of this 2 years ago. This is it's just kind of all happening all at once. And I like when life works that way.
Yeah. It does. It seems so flawless, seamless, a seamless transition. And you have now all of this history behind you too. Yeah. Oh man, I love that. Mm-hmm. I love that. So you're in identifying your ideal client, has that changed? Because that was semi recently that you took the workshop.
Yeah, it was. It was just the month of March for me was really a low month, a kind of a dead month, and I was like, I'm going to take this month. So I called it my professional development month. I had left my last job. I was like, I'm going full time. I'm going to get rid of every job I have. I'm just going to do this. So that left me with a lot of time at my desk in March. I was like, oh, that job's still killed my mornings. Okay. So I spent every morning, I got up, I got my coffee, and I would log on to Hennapreneur. I took all the workshops, I would do all the worksheets. I made it. I got, books on the history of henna, which I'm still kind of reading. And I was like, I'm just going to immerse myself in learning, which I'm not a student. I barely got through school to get a degree. It was not for me. And anytime I've had a job where they're like, oh, you should take this graduate course or whatever, I'm like, I'm out. I want to do it.
No.
Yeah, no, I'm not going back to school. Thank you. So this was like my school. It was like my school of henna month. So I learned a lot during that, like almost like to the point where my brain was going to explode. And now I'm kind of settling down a little. But yeah, I mean, taking the time to really of course I love to doodle and draw. So I'm drawing my ideal client. Like I got little Tracy on a page there.
I love that.
And like I drew her little kids because she had her kids, but her kids were in a home daycare. Like
I love that so much. I'm geeking out. You have no idea.
Oh, yeah. It was fun, and it was fun, and it really helped me get in the mindset that I think I needed to be in, and that's when everything started kind of clicking.
Oh, that's exciting. I can't wait to hear how that pans out.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna do a conference. The Northeast conference is in November. Mm-hmm. Ideally, in a way, I'd like to find another artist who is more based in Connecticut and kind of share that conference with them because, New England is New England, but I don't know how much travel I want to do down to say Bridgeport, Connecticut. I want to kind of stay near Boston, and my mom lives in Maine, so if I were to go up there, I could go visit her. I do a couple libraries up there, and I can make a little sweep. But there's nothing for me down in Bridgeport, Connecticut. So I'm thinking about working collaboratively with another artist on that. That's always a danger. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know where that is. Have you worked with another artist up until now? Has that been a part of your business at all?
A little bit. I had last year. The festivals were blowing up. I had parties blowing up. I needed help. I have a couple women that I was kind of training. We worked together, and then they saw the potential of being a henna artist and what that meant, and they wanted more and more and more. And I had to pump the brakes because I didn't want to become their agent. It was starting to feel like they wanted to do this gig. Oh, can you sign me up for that festival? And I was spending too much time with them. And so I asked them if they would mind going and doing their own thing. And if I need them, I'll call upon them. And that's worked well. So I do have artists that I can call upon to help me. But for the most part, it's not a strength of mine. I don't work well with others. I run with scissors. I like to be alone, and I like to do my own thing. So that's been actually a really important learning curve in the last year or so, that was cool. It was kind of fun to have that team vibe going, but not what I wanted. It was probably almost, to me, felt more like baggage to be responsible for somebody else's livelihood. And oh gosh, I hope they're making money at that festival today, and I hope they're doing all right, and I hope they have what they need. And it was distracting to me. So I'm back on a the solo path that I was meant to walk.
But you're a lone wolf.
I am a lone wolf.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know that I like that about my, I think I would like to think of myself as being more of a team player, but I'm not. So.
Do you have a professional network for yourself? And I don't mean the library program, but just for you. Do you have business besties or?
I'd like to. There's I'm part of I'm not part of it. There's a thing up in the North Shore called the Creative Collective, and it's all artsy-fartsy people, and they all do artsy-fartsy things. And the city that I live in it's not a cultural hub at all. It's a working class, blue-collar community, and I wish that we had more of an art scene around here. And someday maybe I'll be able to make the space in my life to head that effort out, but it's not now. But I would like to have something like that maybe in the future. I don't have that now.
I see. Yeah, I ask, for me.
Where you are?
No, I have obviously I have my mastermind, and we were on the call this morning at 6:30 in the morning. We talk to each other twice a week. and then we have quarterly meetings and so forth. So it's something. But I ask because, being an entrepreneur, it is lonely sometimes. Like that journey
is it
can
though?
be lonely. It can be lonely, I think not from because I'm like you. I get into my work. I want to do it my way. I don't want to ask questions, and I don't want baggage.
Yeah.
Like that's me. I'm just like, I just want to make a decision and go with it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like when you want to have the conversation about what's going on with your business with your partner or with a friend, and like they don't get it. The lifestyle is different. And in that way, I mean, it's lonely. So I ask more about like the camaraderie. Do you have
there's some Facebook groups that I more lurk on. I don't participate, but I can watch and see what other people are doing. The Hennapreneur community has been awesome. But like I had belonged to like a women's business group for a short time, and it was like, this is such Henna and the arts in general. Like it's so different than what I don't know that the experience really translates.
In some ways, yeah.
It didn't feel like a normal business. So I didn't feel like I fit into a normal group of business people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And to some degree, I think people like really, I know, and I'm not saying this about the business group that I was in, but like in general, like even family members, they're so kind of dismissive about it, like, oh, there's Mandy drawing on people. Like I don't think they really understand that this is a viable business, that I'm making a living. It looks like I'm drawing on people for fun.
Yeah. That's real talk. No, that's real talk. Yeah. I think I agree with you. And sometimes you go to networking because I'm big on that. And inside of Baltimore, I'll go to events and whatnot and do the networking thing. And it is always interesting when you're like, oh, hi, yes, I'm an attorney and I'm a social media manager and I'm a real estate agent. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a henna artist. And they're like,
that's fine.
You can do that? That's a thing? That's a thing, like I've got more press behind me than you can, like Google me,
Well,
but
I always love it when, and I don't know if you get this, but I was like, just happened to me the other night, and the lady was super lovely, but she was like, I was at a library and she was Muslim, and she was like, oh, you know what would be really good for your business is if you were to come and do like an Eid thing at the whatever, you really should get in. And I'm like, I don't need more work. Like until I clone myself, that's great, but like I don't have more time to give. And sometimes at the festivals, people will be like, what, if you would really make some money, if you would do this, it's like, okay, thank you, I'm doing okay.
Look, it's funny. People are very open to like offering their unsolicited advice, and it comes from a good place. But let me ask you, like for you, has there been ever a piece of advice that you've received in your business that you're like, no, I applied it and nope. Or have you always just gone with your gut and like, I hear it?
But I know that there's, I've never taken anybody's unsolicited advice, no. So I can't speak to that, but I'm trying to remember. So I think I showed you a picture, like I keep my designs on cards and it just works. It just works really well. I have color-coded cards. It works because I can price them differently at a festival, but it also works because I can manage my time at a library. Bless you. So, like my red cards take the most time. They also cost the most. My blue cards take the least time. They also cost the least. And at a library, like I was at a bat mitzvah the other night and the DJ had to do a thing. So the kids all had to leave. So when they came back, I only had 9 minutes left of my gig and the kids all wanted more henna. So I was able to put out my blue designs and be like, everybody pick one, get in line. Let's go real quick. They take 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So anyway, I love my system. So every once in a while, somebody will come by my booth and be like, what would be really great is if you had everything in binders. And then it's like, yeah, I've done the binders. It didn't work. Like, it doesn't. I tried that. So yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Everything binders. I do cards.
I love it. When I saw your picture, that was the first time I'd ever seen someone do. Yeah, I really like it.
It just works for me. It just always has. I love it. I'll never do anything different. I've tried different things over the years and I've landed on that just because it works so well in every context.
Mm-hmm.
I can, when I get to a gig, if there's a line already out the door, which does happen sometimes. One time the whole flipping town was lined up around the library because it was a small town and it was like that they had used their whole budget for me that summer.
Oh, wow.
super sad because I'm not that expensive. I mean, everybody in the town was lined up like around the library. So like when that kind of thing happens, I know I can only put out these color cards.
Oh,
and
wow.
when I get there and there's like 3 people there and they're like, well, we had 7 people sign up, but there's only 3 here. I know I can put out everything, you know? So it's just how I manage myself, and it works perfectly.
So now I've got a question. So when you go to the library, is it like an educational program and then you offer demo, or are you just doing demo? What does that look like?
I will do what a librarian asks of me, but so here's the deal. So libraries have budgets. Their budgets are often different for age groups. So they'll have an adult programming budget, they'll have a teen budget, and they'll have children's budget. I mostly live in the teen section. I will do adult programs, and that's more where I'm more likely to be asked to talk about henna in that context, but not always. Mm-hmm. Teens, they just want teens to come to the library. They're just like, we know that there's teenagers in this town. They don't like coming here, but when there's henna, I've had more librarians say to me, I didn't even know there was this many teenagers in this town. They come out for henna. So it's a win-win-win. Kids are getting free henna. I'm getting paid. Library's getting teen bodies in the door, and everybody wins, and that's all they need from me. An adult program, I don't do very often. They're more likely to have questions, but what I tend to do is like I'll set up like a mandala coloring table, so adults will be doing coloring, and I'll be talking as I'm working and answering questions. They mostly want to know how it's made, what's in it. I don't get asked a lot about the history, and I'm kind of glad for that because it's definitely like a weak spot for me. I'm trying to learn right now. I have some books. I feel like it's like the same information. I rely on people that come to me who have grown up with henna in their culture to teach me. To tell me. I get tidbits, I get tidbits here and tidbits there, and I love to hear from them. I don't feel always super confident, or I don't feel that I'm really the best person to be talking about the history of henna. So I'm working on that.
Okay. So wow. So do you do like a bit on henna, like when you go to because I know that there are going to be listeners who are like, I want to do a library program. How do I set that up? Yeah. Do you do anything on like henna safety, or do you have a table for teens also set up and you just kind of work through them and they just look at the things as they come up? Or
it's literally like a festival. Like I will I'll go in, I'll put my tablecloth down, I have my little suitcase, and I will start doing henna. And a lot of times they'll get like, 2 or 3 or 4 tattoos because it's a small enough group. It's usually a 2-hour gig. And so one of the things that has made me so successful at libraries is that because of my card system, I can work through a crowd. Libraries don't know if 7 people are going to show up or 75 people are going to show up. And I've had both happen. So as somebody working at a library, my ideal client is not the teenager, it's the librarian. Right. So it's my job. And that's a really important distinction for anybody wanting to do this kind of work. I'm hoping to please the teenagers with their henna. I hope they like it. I hope they get a great stain. I hope they like the design. But the person I'm there to please is the librarian, because I'm there to make her look good, or him. I'm there to make sure that it's a successful program, that they feel like it went well. And one of the ways I do that is by making sure everybody gets henna that wants it. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways I do that is by managing my design intricacy. So that's where my card system works. But my job is to help that librarian pull off a successful program.
I love that. I love that you made the distinction, because it's true. I think many times artists, they're looking at the end person who's actually receiving the design. It's like, no, it's the person with the wallet.
Well, yeah,
that's who you're there.
Sometimes that, for many artists, that person is the same person. Mm. So like they're doing private appointments, they're doing a bride, like that's who they're there to please. And I want that person to be pleased, but I'm not there to please that person.
Yeah.
And on a good day, and which is almost every day in my line of work, everybody wins.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So what does your day look like? Like, what's a regular work week look like for you?
Okay, this is going to make people jealous because I have like the best like work life, I think. This is what I've been working my whole career for. I'm here. I wake up. I help get my kids off to school. We have so some people have family dinner. We have like family coffee. Like we get up and we're all together in the morning.
That's cool.
That's one of the ways that we make it work. We get up, we make lunches, we make breakfast that nobody eats, we stomp around the kitchen, we get in each other's way. My husband takes these ones to school, my daughter drives, she takes the other one to school, so then everybody leaves. It's 7:10 a.m. I get my coffee and I go sit at my desk. And I return emails and I, maybe post on social media if I'm feeling saucy that day, and I get the desk stuff done. I take the dogs for a walk. My mom lives in my in-law apartment. She comes down. We have a little mom and daughter time with the dogs. We walk around the block. It's lovely. We catch up, maybe have a coffee, and then she goes. Sometimes I still do some kids yoga. So sometimes I go to a library and do a kids yoga workshop. I still do story times at libraries. Sometimes I have to go do that. So whatever it is I'm doing that morning, I love to work out. So sometimes I go to my Orange Theory fitness class. And then I come back and I do more work. Now, work for me might mean sewing a Harry Potter finger puppet for a workshop I have to do next week. I don't know what I'm doing next day. This is why I have the best job ever. You might see behind me my wall of crafts.
Yes.
A lot of days my job entails crafting. So I'll sit and watch Hulu and make crafts. And I love it.
Yes.
The best. And some days it might, I'll do all my invoices usually for the next month at one time. That might take more than one chunk of sitting. It might be working on my website that day. I might be, doing mailings. I like to mail. One of the things I like to do, which I've only started doing since I went full-time, which is one of the reasons I went full-time, is that when I have a program coming up at a library, a craft program, not a henna program, I was like, I really need to devote myself more to these librarians and give them a little more than I'm giving them, because I want these programs to be extra. I don't want them to just be good enough. I was running in 1,000 directions. So what I'll do is I'll make them an example. This is for a Harry Potter craft station workshop that I do. I'll make this, and then I have my little mailers, and I'll stick it in a mailer, and I'll mail it out with a little note saying, if you want to put this at the front desk so people know that the workshop's coming up. So that's one of the things that I'm doing this year, to do a little extra customer service, to make things a little better for them, get more people signed up. I always send thank you notes to all my librarians, all my festival organizers. I'm really big on thank you notes, always handwritten. So that takes time. So that might be something I'm doing that day. But anyway, I have a run, it never ends. So I have a running to-do list. So after my workout and my walk with my mom and my coffee and my emails, I'll tackle a couple things on that list. And then it's time to go pick the kids up at school. So, and then I might have a gig that night. Lately every night I've been working, all different kinds of things. And then I'm getting ready for festivals. I sew all my own stuff for my booths. So sometimes I have to sew a new this and new that. And I'm just always kind of tackling projects.
I love it.
Best, right?
That is the best. I'm like, that's an awesome work week. I want to work week like that. So, how do you keep yourself organized? You got all these different things going on. Do you use a paper planner or an online calendar? How do you?
Paper. I'm 100% pen, paper, and pencil. 100% to the point where I panic about my planner. Leaving it somewhere would be my worst nightmare. I would drive back for it. I would drive hours to go back to get my planner. And now that I just said that, now I'm like, that was good, Mandy. Good thing you said that out loud, because now my planner is going to get left somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I paint all my own signage for my booth. I am so, even just doing this interview with you and having to work my computer, I had anxiety dreams last night about it. It's I'm so anti-technology. They couldn't hear me, and I was trying to get to Staples this morning, but they didn't open until 8 because I wanted to get a microphone. It's all working out just fine, but technology is not my friend. I do my own website, which I think is and a lot of librarians tell me that they really like it, so it must be hitting the mark where it needs to. But I do everything with paints and paint pens and markers and Sharpies, and everything I do is tactile.
I love that. Do you bullet journal, or is it just a planner and you break it down the way that
I have my planner and my to-do list. I have to-do lists everywhere. I live for my to-do lists. And that's basically how I stay organized. And I look around and I see chaos, but really when I think about it, it's not that bad. And and I work really hard to, like, I always joke when I get to a library for like a craft workshop, like I'm going to forget something. And lately I haven't been forgetting anything. So it's like really good. I think that came with going full time though. Like up until a couple months ago, I was doing all of this and having a 20-hour week job. Mm-hmm. So that was like actually kind of stressing me out, you know, and nobody was getting the best of me. So now, having this time to just do everything right and having the time, I do have the time for once in my life. You know, you have kids and I have no time. I'm so busy. I have no time. I'm so busy. I have time now. Like I'm doing all the things that need to get done in their own way.
Right.
Feels good.
So how long did it take you to get to this place?
I would say I've been grinding for like 6 years.
So that's no small feat.
Mm-mm.
That's some time under the belt for sure.
The bad summer was 2015, what we refer to as the bad summer.
the bad summer that shall not be named.
The summer that we shall not discuss. So that was like when it kind of hit the peak, and then it's been a slow ride into goodness since then.
Oh, I love that.
Also, you know, income rising, so that's really been good.
Oh, those are like
two beautiful ones.
It's going, yeah. I'm like, yes, these are the things that I'm on. These are trends that I like. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So wow. Did you see yourself getting here? Like, was this something that you forecasted and were like, yeah, that's the direction I want to go? Or did it just kind of grow organically?
Totally organically. I thought I was going to be a freelance writer for the rest of my life, making $25,000 a year as a goal.
Yeah.
That was the goal. You know, like, oh, if I can just be with the kids and be a freelance writer, like that'll be good. And I think henna has just become so popular that it almost like called my name towards it. You know, like the demand has forced me in this direction, and I was happily along for the ride. You know,
that's so fun.
Yeah, and also working for it too.
Yeah,
and I don't know. It's been kind of a beautiful. Like, it's been a beautiful journey, and I'm like really proud of myself because I never thought that I was kind of the black sheep of my family. Like, oh, Mandy's the artsy one. Like, she, always in a million different. And like, I have one of my sisters. I have two sisters. One's an actuary and one's a speech pathologist. So they were just really doing it. Doing it the whole time. And I was like, oh, I got my kids, and so. To be successful at something has been a little bit of a surprise, to be honest with you.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I didn't see myself, and I love having a business. My mother was a business owner, and like I love it. I just never really thought this would be the business that I would have, but here we are. So yeah, organic.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What has for you over the course of this, 6 years, almost 7 years now? Journey, what has been like the biggest professional accomplishment that you've had?
I want to, like, my instinct is to talk about money when I talk about success, because I never saw that coming. Like, I never saw this level of income tied to something that I love so much. But also, like, personally, I have tried to maintain a mindset, like, I think it's called an abundance mindset. Like, I always give my time away. I volunteer at like it's called the Healing Garden. It's a place where women go when they're undergoing cancer treatment, where they can go get massages. And I go once a month and I do crowns. And so I always, it's a professional achievement for me to have not lost sight of ways that I can use my gift for good. So that's, I don't know, it's cheesy, it's probably cheesy. And the money.
Oh my gosh. It's not cheesy. I love that. Like,
balance.
I think having both, like, you have the personal payoff, and then, I mean, everybody loves the money. Like, there's no shame there either. So I love that.
I mean, what does that money mean? That money means, I mean, all my friends our kids are going to college, and most of my peers, their kids are taking out loans. We're living in college loan world right now. I don't know, because we're going into the freshman year, but like I really think I'm going to be able to pay for college. Like I really think I'm going to actually be able to put my child through college.
That is phenomenal.
Like, isn't it?
That is phenomenal.
She did the work of getting, she's a super smart kid, and she did the work of getting all the scholarships and whatnot. But what's left, I think I can like write the check every month. And that's going to be my biggest accomplishment. And that's the one I've got my eyes on.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Like that just like I've got goosebumps. Yeah. I love that so much.
That's the goal.
Oh man. That's so I just love it. Okay. I'm chewing on nuts because I feel like that's the parents' dream. Like you to build something that creates a legacy, be it the business itself is a legacy or whatever you're able to give your kid.
Investment. Yeah.
By means of it. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that definitely would not have been possible. I mean, my husband, he's the Greg to my Dharma, if you're old enough to get that reference. He makes a good living, whatever, but we pay the bills, so this business is what does all the extras and has been over the years building up to all the extras. And at first that was just, oh, my business has paid for a vacation, or the kids can take dance classes, and my daughter's in club soccer, and like over the years. But now this is the big one. College is the big one. So yeah. This is the true test of like, are we going to be able to do this? I think we're going to be able to do this.
I love that.
It's awesome.
How is your business in terms of like pricing and so forth? How are you compensated for your time with the library programs? I know you said when you first started, you had an hourly, it was $50 an hour.
I think so.
Now what does that look like for you?
So my rate, I actually increased my rate when I went full time. I was like, I'm so fast in terms of like libraries, like I can accommodate so many people that I'm going to give myself a raise because they like to get lots of people in the door. So I just figured that was a little premium I was going to put on myself. So up until I actually grandfathered people in who booked me before the new year, but I was charging $100 an hour, and then there would be a $50 travel fee to most libraries. I do my local library. I give them a little bit of a break because like I said, we're kind of a working class town, and they're really good about. They're just really good. So anyway, I try to hook up the locals a little bit. But anyway, so it was like a 2-hour workshop at a library. It was $250. I just raised it to $275. It's working out fine. So that's how I structured that. And then, of course, festival, the designs are different prices. But I try to stay low, not to undercut anybody else, but just to not be a jerk because, like, I don't, like, my most expensive designs are $25. They take me 4 minutes. Like, I just can't, with a clear conscience, charge more than that for 4 minutes of my time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know some henna artists have, like, $50 designs, but they're also way more intricate than what I limit what I offer.
Yeah.
So I won't do a big piece at a festival.
And that's strategic.
Yeah, it's totally strategic.
That's strategic. That.
Yeah. And I have $5 designs that I will take away only at festivals where I've paid a ton of money to be there because I know people will spend the $10. Mm-hmm. But if I'm at like a fair when there's parents with lots of kids, listen, I'm a parent. $5 for the little smiley face or the little chickadee or like whatever it is. Because come on, I mean, you've got 4 kids. Like, what are you gonna do? So I try to be really fair with my pricing, and that works. That's been a strategy that has served me well.
Yeah,
I find that people are willing to come and spend. If the designs were $10, that family with 4 kids isn't gonna even stop. They're gonna be like, nope, sorry, kids, move along. If they're $5, they're gonna be like, okay, kids, you can pick a $5 design. All 4 of you, $20. Yeah.
No, I'm the same. Here there's such a large amount of like wealth disparity, and I'm the same. I agree. I think when you're out there to serve people, then you're rewarded for that, be it with the business initially or with the reputation that your brand builds or with the referrals that you receive later. Like it always comes back. So I'd prefer to like here's the $5 design. Like I'm not gonna get rid of it.
Yeah.
It
works.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So like for you, you're so tell me like how is when we talk about like the cost associated with running business, you have these library programs that are up and running and ready to go.
Yeah.
You got this, smaller amount of festivals that you're doing. What sort of overhead do you run? What sort of costs are associated with what you do today?
Probably my biggest expense is my car, because I'm willing to travel. I love to drive and I love to be in my car. It's my happy place. I have mentioned once or twice that I have 3 teenage daughters, so sometimes getting in the car and driving away is like the highlight of my day. Kind of like when you have little kids.
Relatable.
So I'm willing to travel, and maybe other people aren't. I don't know. So I'll travel up to like next week. I'm going to drive to Maine. Like I said, my mom lives there, so it's a little bit of a negotiation. But that's like a 2-hour and 20-minute drive, and I'm psyched for it. I can't wait. So I have to have a good car, which has been a learning curve because I've spent a couple moments on the side of the road.
Oh.
And so I have a nice, reliable vehicle, and I spend a ton on gas. But the henna, I make my own henna, so I roll my own cones. Like I do all the things that cut down on henna being a cost.
Mm-hmm.
My craft workshops, some cost me more for supplies than others, and I charge the same because I just figure it's all going to even out in the end. I like the consistency of pricing for libraries. I like them to not pick and choose based on what it costs. So I like them to just have me come do what they want me to do. Mm-hmm. So craft supplies are a huge overhead for me. Gas, car payment. I have all my booth stuff. I make everything myself, so I don't have a lot of costs associated with festivals. So, my space, I guess, like technically, I have to have a home office and all that, but, I think it's still worth it for sure. Yeah.
It's interesting always to hear the different, based on the type of service that we specialize in, what sort of costs are associated with what and who's spending what on what. Do you spend money on marketing right now? You don't.
I don't. No, I don't, and I don't have to, mm-hmm. and I don't really want to. No, I don't really advertise, and I'm terrible at social media. I post like twice a week, maybe. I just don't. The librarians do the heavy lifting, and this is another little life hack for anybody kind of getting into it. On my business card is also my henna care instructions, so everybody has to take one.
Yes, I like that.
So my cards aren't just going to people who ask me for a business card. My cards are going to everybody that gets henna from me. Mm-hmm. And that they'll keep it kicking around. It's a square instead of a rectangle, so it's a little different. So people are more likely to kind of hang on to it. Mm-hmm. So for parties and such, like that's. But yeah, I don't really need to do any marketing right now, which is nice.
Cool. Yeah. So what about like up until now? And I don't know. This could be in the past year. This could be since going full time, or even just over the length of your career. What has been the largest investment that you've made in your business?
I don't know. I don't know that there has been one large investment. Maybe this will come to me later, but I can't think of. The festival, the level of festival that I do has evolved. So I'll pay $1,000 for a music festival now. I do the Boston Pride Festival. I'll pay $350 for the day, whereas years ago I had like a $75 a day cap.
Right.
So I'll spend more to get into the good festivals because I shine there.
And you work by yourself at these festivals?
At the big ones, I bring my booth babe, my best friend, and we have a blast. And this year I have a big music festival that I do, and I didn't have a second artist, and I was kind of stressed about it. And out of the blue, a woman reached out to me, and she said, "Oh, I applied for that festival, and they told me they already had you. So I asked them if they would share your contact info, and I just wanted to know if you want help that day, or that weekend." And I was like, I like you.
I like that. Yes. I'm like, is she an Hennapreneur? I like that.
Yeah, and I checked out her website, and she's really into private appointments. She's really talented. I really like her vibe. I like her style. So she's been kind of helping me out a little bit when I need her. She's gonna go to this big, huge music festival with me in July. She's meeting me next weekend at a smaller but maybe bigger festival. I haven't done it before, but I think it's going to be awesome. Just to get to know each other a little bit. So I'm excited to have somebody that might really vibe with my vibe.
Yeah.
and somebody to call on. But like the Henna Society, it's a large network. I know I could find help if I needed it. But when you spend that much time in that close of quarters with somebody, you kind of want to like have a groovy thing going on. So I might be still searching for that, but I think I found it.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah,
like that, I
I
feel
do
like
too.
it's so good when you have someone else that you could just
Yeah,
lean on a little, and
yeah,
even if it's like, last minute, oh my gosh, do you have, I just ran out of lavender oil, like, like,
yeah.
you know,
That community, yeah.
yeah.
But I can work a big festival with a booth helper. If they're handling the money and getting the line lined up, I can work through a line pretty efficiently. And you can only do what you can do, right? So whether there's 2 of you, 3 of you, or 1 of you, if you're working constantly, it doesn't really make it's just disappointed people that aren't going to get henna, but it's not like you have to get them done by the end of the day. So it's really just your only limitation is your own self.
Right.
But I like those busy festivals so much. Those are my favorite.
I love that. What about this? Let's go to the flip side.
Yeah.
Has there been an investment that you've made in your business that hasn't paid off in the way that you'd hoped? And did you learn any lessons from that?
Well, no, but again, I'll go back to the festival thing. Like I paid up front last year for a series of weekends in an incredibly busy tourist town that always has been really good for me. And last October, I don't know, in Baltimore, it rained every weekend and it was like 3 degrees out. It was awful. So I lost my shirt last October. And so a month where I expected to make $5,000 or $6,000, I actually lost $700. So, but those are the breaks. Those are the breaks. I don't belabor that misery. Like I don't give it too much thought. It happened. I had a great July. I had a crappy October, and that's just the way it goes around here. Mm-hmm. So I've, in terms of an investment that I've lost money on, that's probably the biggest one. But I also I don't stew about it. You move on.
Yeah, it is. It's the nature of business. It's the nature of business.
I roll with it.
So let me ask you, what for you has been, over the course of your journey as a henna artist, what has been the biggest lesson that you've learned?
I think as a business person, and I used to do business writing for the newspaper, the Sunday paper in the city near me. I did a business story once on this guy, and I always used to ask people, "Oh, how did you survive 2008 and the recession and everything?" And he said, "Well, when you're trying to grow a business, you can either, and you have a product, you can either find more people to sell your product to, or you can find more products to sell to your person." And that, when you were like, "Oh my God, I have to chew on that." Like I had to chew on that. I was like, that makes so much sense. And maybe people who have a business degree or go to maybe that's like the class. I don't know. But just that one sentence changed my entire business mind. Mm-hmm. So, and that was one of the things that helped me shift from, okay, my librarian is my client. I can either find more librarians to hire me for henna, or I can find more things to offer that librarian. Mm-hmm. And so I've done both over the years in different ways, but I'm always trying to think about how to grow that way or that way, and never too much at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, so I love that.
That's been a really good business lesson. So that's something I learned and then had to spend years implementing.
Yeah.
Which I think is really, I don't know, I think it's a little bit of a gem.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That is a golden nugget if I've ever heard. Like the concept of going deep versus going wide is, right. I think a lot of us, we get hung up on one or the other.
Yeah.
And fail to remember you got to kind of go with both. And like you said, not at the same time. You grow it a little here.
That's the most important.
And grow it a little here. And
which one thing am I focusing on right now? What's my goal? It can't be both, or you'll just get so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So that's been the thing I've learned that is the truest, Yeah.
That's a good one. So let me ask you, if you were to give a piece of advice, a single piece of advice, and I say it's advice, but it could be a suggestion, a piece of encouragement, a recommendation, whatever that is, mm-hmm. A message. If you could leave a message for that henna artist who's 2 steps behind you in their journey, what would you tell them? What?
So the person 2 steps behind me is a person who's burning the candle at both ends and deciding whether this business is for them to really invest in. And it comes down to is it in your heart? Is it in your gut? And if it is, just stay connected to it. Like when things get too businessy, get a henna cone, get a friend, get a kid, and just go play. Just go play and be artful again. And if that's enough for you, then like maybe another business is a better idea. But if that's like, if you're like, what can I do to make this work? Then figure out. I don't have any advice because I could tell you how to get exactly where I am, but I think that probably where I am is a little bit unique and everybody's kind of got their own twist on it. So I think the thing is just to always like connect with the henna, with the art, and with the people, and just stay connected. That's so cheesy. It's so cheesy.
It's not cheesy. That's not cheesy. That's so good. Oh, I love that, and I think that will resonate also with a lot of people. And I honestly, I agree. It's there are the highs where you have to work in that, like, it's the left brain, right brain thing.
Yeah. Are you left-handed? You're not left-handed.
Oh no, I'm not.
I'm left-handed. So.
Are you?
Yeah.
See, my dad is. I'm not.
I find that a lot of henna artists are.
Yeah.
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 I have found that to be not like a majority, but like certainly more than the general pop.
I agree with that. Yeah. And I just, like, off the top of my head, I think 5, like this, and it's you go, is there a thing there? But no, it is. It's that left brain, right brain. I think staying connected and staying grounded in the thing you love, and remembering why you love it.
Yeah, remembering why you love it. That's probably true on any business endeavor. Is like it can get really businessy, but bring it down to the basics.
You're so awesome, Mandy. I love you. Yeah, you're so awesome.
If I liked my in-laws more, I would come down and visit because they live in Maryland. But it's just not like that. So
look, I'm gonna need you guys to get on better terms so you can. We'll come do coffee and
someday we'll be down there again, and I will make the drive to go see you.
Oh my gosh, yes, I wanna put my arms around you. You're awesome. Oh my gosh, well, thank you, man. I so appreciate not only your time, but your insight and your openness, your willingness to share your journey. That's
hard on the sleeves. That's what they say, right?
That's it's the artist in you. You got no choice.
Yeah, it's the loudmouth in me too. I don't have much of a filter, but hopefully something came out of my mouth that was helpful, and I'm sure I'll A, cringe at 5,000 things I said, and B, think of 5,000 things that I wish I'd said, but it is what it is, right?
It is. You know what? Honestly, likely both. I'm the same. Yeah. I'm like, but you know what? When you put out good, then people receive it. And I think there are so many things in your journey that are so relatable that, good. They're going to love it. I love it.
Yeah. Good. Well, thank you for having me on.
Yes, of course. It's my pleasure. All right, love. Well, take care. And I'll see you inside the group.
Okay.
Bye.